Is everyone ready to go? Are we sure?
Okay.
Stand by, please. Going live in three, two, one.
Start the clock.
Q and L.
Live from the Health Sciences District, we welcome you to our studios at University Health, Kansas City's Essential Hospital. Now here's Keith King.
World Cup has finally arrived in Kansas City, and our doctors have the cure for your soccer fever. Good morning, everyone. I'm Keith King with University Health, and welcome to Healthy Goals, our live YouTube show where we talk about World Cup soccer, the wins, the losses, the bumps, and the bruises after each matchup. Joining me live this morning in our studio, University Health Executive Chief Clinical Officer, Dr. Mark Steele. He is the top doc here at University Health, and he also played soccer in college and continues to be a big soccer fan. And Dr. Scott Llewellyn, University Health orthopedic surgeon who specializes in sports medicine. He's also a team doctor for Sporting KC Soccer. Coming up, we will break down last night's huge matchup, exciting matchup, Argentina versus Algeria. I want to get their key takeaways from this match. Soccer, of course, is a rough sport. We will talk about common injuries the players face. If watching these top athletes compete motivates you to become more active, we have tips on how to keep moving without getting hurt. Plus, a lot of World Cup events are happening across Kansas City. Many take place outdoors. We have tips on what you should pack for those celebrations outside in the summer sun. World Cup matches are bringing thousands of fans to outdoor celebrations like FanFest. What happens if you're out in the sun and you overheat? This happens. University health providers are ready to treat patients dealing with heat exposure. We'll show you one method they use to quickly and safely lower your body's temperature. And soccer fans from across the globe poured into Kansas City Stadium last night. What was it like being surrounded by all that energy and excitement? One of our sports medicine specialists was in the crowd, and we will check in with her in just a moment. Finally, if you're a member of the media or you are watching us live, we want to hear from you. Email us your questions at publicrelations@uhkc.org. Again, publicrelations@uhkc.org. Email us your questions and be part of our conversation. Okay, let's bring in our doctors, Dr. Steele and Dr. Llewellyn. Last night, a huge matchup, obviously, Argentina versus Algeria. I heard one of the announcers give the headline, Messi Magic in Missouri. History was made last night at Arrowhead. Let's start with the key takeaways. Dr. Steele, let's start with you.
Yeah, I mean, what can we say? I mean, Messi is Messi. And I think we just got to observe the greatest of all time, obviously do his magic. I mean, it was an extraordinary performance that he put on last night.
Yeah. Great way for Kansas City to kick off World Cup. Dr. Llewellyn, how about you?
I would thoroughly agree with that assessment. The fact that everybody knows Messi's coming. Algeria is known for their defensive prowess. I heard a statistic where they only allowed 5 goals in their last 15 matches, but despite that, Messi gets a hat trick. Yeah,
Right.
So that's it's just a phenomenal piece of history.
Let's talk a little bit about Messi's age. I mean, a lot is being discussed about that. He is 38 years old right now. He'll turn 39 in just 1 week. There was talk about him retiring after the last World Cup. Talk to me about how this individual is able to continue to play at such a high level as he continues to age.
It is remarkable for him to be able to play at that level and continue to do so at his age. And I think it's a combination of a number of different components. One, he's gotten wiser with age. I think I heard stories about when he was younger, he would eat pizza and drink beer just like everybody else,
Right.
and that were at his age at the time. But he figured out very quickly that he felt terrible, and so he adjusted his regimen. He's got a very strict dietary regimen, and of course, when you have his level of status, you get a lot of resources, directed at your recovery and your health. And so I think that he uses those to maintain his nutrition. He's also, some people have commented that they see him walking a lot during the game, and that's not because he's lazy. He's just strategic and has a very focused concentration on the game and knows when to maximize the strategy. Last night, for example, when that first goal happened, Argentina was maintaining possession and being very patient, and then they made this incredible assist to Messi, who was in the middle, and then he turns and just bursts very quickly towards the goal, and even despite two guys being draped on him, he manages to find the goal through the thread the needle and find the spot where he could score. And so that's, I think that basically being smart about use of your endurance,
Right.
is one way that he's been able to continue to play at that level for so long. And they, the recovery methods that they use, which we use at Sporting also, just the hydrotherapy and the rest techniques and again, the nutrition, all those things combined allow you to recover better,
Mhm.
than in years past.
Talk to me a little bit about the aging process with athletes, soccer compared to another sport like American football. Are soccer players able to play, have their careers a little bit longer than football players?
Absolutely. I mean, football, clearly a collision sport, and so that takes a toll on everyone. Uh, I think that that's probably the biggest, contributor to the fact that you can play soccer longer than you can in other sports. But I think also that some elite athletes have this innate ability to avoid injury. When you look back, even in the NFL, for example, Marcus Allen, he played 16 years as a running back when the average duration of a running back's career in the NFL is like maybe 3 years,
Yeah, yeah,
and he had a couple of injuries. He had a knee injury, I think, and broke his wrist. But that's when you consider how long he played, that's remarkable that he avoided injury that way. So I think they're able to move in such a way that they avoid the collision and avoid the injury. And in soccer, for example, when someone's doing a slide tackle, your ability to react and jump over that person as opposed to have them take you out or have a contact with your leg. I think some people have that ability to do that,
right,
and so another example is Nolan Ryan. He's
right.
in baseball. You hear about all these people having the ulnar collateral ligament reconstructions. When they're because of the throwing, and he threw very hard for I think 20 some years. He did eventually have an ulnar collateral ligament injury, but he played for 20 something years.
Yeah.
So I think that's another component is just the innate ability of high level elite athletes.
Right. And I read online last night regarding this match, Argentina's experience and championship pedigree versus Algeria's youth and athleticism. In this case, though, youth did not have the advantage last night.
Very true. Yeah, I think you can tell by the way that Argentina very very patiently possessed the ball, and it was almost like a cobra waiting to strike. They would just pick their time, and when they did strike, it was very quick. And so that's what experience gets for you.
And there really were no injuries last night.
That's correct. Yeah. In fact, my partner in crime with Sporting KC, Neil Erickson, he's a primary care doc. He was at the game last night, and he said the trainers actually never even had to go onto the field. Which is unusual for a soccer game. Usually, somebody gets something, a bump or something that it requires a trainer to go assess them. Even if they don't have to come out of the game, and that didn't happen last night. So that was good.
So, as a team doctor for Sporting Kansas City, you have a front row seat to matches. Take us inside the mind of a World Cup team doctor. Where do they watch? What do they look for? Kind of take us through what would be typical.
Well, that's there's only one doctor allowed to be on the bench. So there's one doctor actually on the bench that has that very clear unobstructed view. But for sporting, for example, and I'm sure the World Cup does the same thing. We have a surveillance system. It's called 8x8, where they have a number of cameras, recording the action, and they have a person centrally watching to see if there's any potential injuries off the ball, or the
Mm.
places where maybe you're not focused, and they'll communicate that if there is something of concern. But I think as the bench doctor, you're sort of hyper vigilant. You're watching anytime someone goes down, and you watch them as they get back up, and watch them as they play if it's for the minutes after the injury when they restart to make sure they're not compromised.
Mhm.
For example, if someone takes a head bop and you're concerned about a concussion, they do the on-field assessment, and if necessary, do an exertional trial to make sure that they don't have any symptoms getting back into playing form. But you still want to watch them afterwards because sometimes those symptoms present subsequent while they're playing. So you
Mhm.
got to kind of watch for that.
What are some of the more common injuries that you would expect to see in a high level international matchup like what we saw last night?
The most common injuries are ankle and muscle, or especially hamstring injuries.
Mhm.
Those are the most common injuries that you see. The ones that you're more, maybe concerned about, or that sort of escalate your level of concern, would be the head injuries or knee injuries. When someone, and for ACL injuries, for example, 70% plus of ACL injuries are non-contact injuries.
Mhm.
So you have to be very thorough in your assessment if someone goes down with a knee injury.
Right. Yeah. And that brings to mind Patrick Mahomes, who was also in the house last night. I saw I saw something on social media about two goats in Arrowhead. So
Right.
that was
Right.
kind of fun to see.
Cool.
Dr. Steele, let's go ahead and bring you back into this conversation regarding Messi and this Argentina team. What are your thoughts? Are they really the team to beat for this World Cup?
Well, obviously they're one of the teams to beat, and obviously the last go around they were the winner. But there are a number of other really great teams, including Spain, France, England, Netherlands are always tough to play against. I think we need to watch out for Morocco. They look really sharp. So there's you never know what's going to happen, and when you get in after this initial round, it's you lose one and you go home. So anything can happen in a single match.
As I mentioned off the top, you here at University Health are Executive Chief Clinical Officer. You're the top doctor here at University Health. As an organization, we have been preparing for months for World Cup. Kind of talk to me a little bit about those preparations and what we have
Yeah, I
done.
mean, as a level one trauma center, of course, we're always prepared for critical incidents. And so obviously we've been doing some planning and some practice around that. This time of year, we have to be concerned about heat related illness. And so obviously doing preparation in that regard. And then a little bit of staffing, making sure we're staffed up in case we get an influx of folks. And obviously, with all these international visitors, having a strong interpreter service here is important so that we can communicate with any international folks who come our way.
Yeah. Here at University Health, just to kind of give folks who are watching a lay of the land, we are just blocks from FanFest. And the crowds out there have been huge. You in fact, were out there Friday night, correct?
Yeah, yeah. To watch the U.S. game, there was a big crowd. It was very exciting. It was a beautiful night, and the layout there I think is really spectacular. Obviously, it was highlighted on the national feeds and stuff, and so lot of people, a lot of energy in the crowd.
Yeah, yeah. And of course, during the day especially, it is hot, it is humid out there. You mix alcohol into that, and it can lead to complications. So, are fans coming to University Health for treatment? And if so, what are we seeing here?
Yeah, actually, we've only seen really about a handful of folks who have come related to the World Cup. We have had a couple of cases of heat exhaustion that have shown up. Unfortunately, they've done well and been discharged from the emergency department, and then just some other relatively minor things.
Yeah. So how can people who are heading out to events like FanFest, what can they do to kind of prepare and hopefully avoid a trip to the ER?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, some of the most important thing is to be well hydrated, make sure they have plenty of fluids with you, and then obviously to the degree you can stay out of the direct sun. I mean, fortunately, so far the weather has been relatively mild for this time of year, and so we haven't. I think it hasn't been as high a risk, at least at this point in time, as it could have been.
Okay. All right. Doctors, thank you both. Don't go anywhere. I have more questions for you. I want to talk more about USA, Team USA, here in just a minute. But first, let's talk about the soccer matches, the fan fest, celebrations at venues like Power and Light. These are all fun outdoor events that bring in huge crowds. Too much fun in the heat, though, can lead to heat related illness, as we've been talking about this morning. Illnesses such as heat stroke. Doctors at University Health are ready to treat these illnesses with a unique way to safely and quickly cool the body when temperatures rise too high. Take a look. You are inside University Health's emergency department, one of the busiest ERs in the city. As a level 1 trauma center, these doctors, nurses, and staff are used to saving lives every day.
Be thinking about how will we do this.
Today, they are training to treat patients suffering from hyperthermia. That's when the body's core temperature rises well above the normal 98.6 degrees.
We just want to be set up as best way as possible and prepared for not only World Cup, but the summers to come.
Emergency medicine physician Dr. Travis Hellberg leads the training, teaching providers how to use specialized cooling bags. For life-threatening hyperthermia, the American Heart Association guidelines state immersion in ice water is the most effective and recommended methods to cool patients.
Gonna get some more ice on you.
A body temperature of 104 degrees or higher is considered severe hyperthermia. Patients are placed inside the cooling bags, which are then filled with ice and water. Left untreated, heat stroke can lead to permanent brain damage and other life-threatening complications.
Additional organs that are affected are your liver, your kidneys, and prolonged periods of hyperthermia can actually lead to multi-system organ failure, leading to poorer outcomes.
In this training scenario, a medical mannequin represents a 55-year-old man found unconscious on the ground with a body temperature of nearly 106 degrees. He's brought to a treatment room, placed in a cooling bag, and surrounded by ice and water. Within minutes, providers can lower the patient's temperature to a much safer level.
Depending on how hot they are when they come into the department, usually it takes about 10 to 15 minutes, but it can be longer, extremely hyperthermic.
As an academic medical center, University Health is committed to adopting the latest medical advances and ensuring staff are trained to use them. That preparation helps provide the highest level of patient care when every second counts. All right, let's bring our doctors back into the conversation. Doctors Llewellyn and Dr. Steele. Dr. Steele, your background is in emergency medicine. Talk to me a little bit about the methods prior to the use of cooling bags.
Yeah, I mean, the most common method
Yeah,
was to
they're just talking
actually
so much.
spray the patient with water and then have fans running so that they would evaporate that water, would help them cool down. Also putting ice packs like in the groins and in the armpits. I mean, if somebody was severely hyperthermic and occasionally we might even do things like put chest tubes in the chest and run cool water through that, or even putting a catheter into the abdomen and running cool water in the bladder, that kind of thing.
Are those methods, does it take a little bit longer to lower the body temperature compared to submerging the body in water and ice?
I don't know that we have really good data about
Okay.
one is better than the other, but both are clearly effective
Right.
and are beneficial for the patients. So.
Dr. Llewellyn, from a team doctor perspective, what are methods like this used for athletes who are out there playing for 90 minutes?
Right. The biggest focus has always been prevention, and that's how it has evolved to where if there's they do a measurement called a wet bulb globe temperature, which combines temperature and humidity, and if it's above a certain threshold, they take a water break.
Mhm.
So they will actually pause the game, usually about 30 minutes in, to take a water break, and they'll put cooling towels on their neck, and sometimes spray cold water on themselves, and of course hydrate and take electrolyte type things. And so fortunately, doing that, we've been able to avert most of catastrophic heat
Sure.
things, but we are prepared for that if it does happen. We've got we have EMTs on the site, so they can transport to nearby emergency department if necessary. But in the short term, like Dr. Steele mentioned, you got to get that temperature down very
Mhm.
quickly. And so we do have ice baths as an option if someone is up to the heat stroke level. That they if they're still perspiring, usually you can manage it without having to go to that level. But if they do reach the heat stroke level, we have a way of dealing with that as well.
Sure. Keep it something in your back pocket,
Exactly.
basically. All right, great. Doctors, thank you both again. Don't go anywhere. We have more questions for you. In the meantime, though, a lot more to come, including Leslie Cardo, who is live at our Lakewood campus chatting with a soccer super fan who was inside Kansas City Stadium last night. Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning, Keith and football fans. I am going to be talking to Dr. Meg Gibson, sports medicine physician. She is at many a game, but I am going to ask her the quintessential Kansas City question, which is compared to Arrowhead in a Chiefs game, how was the energy last night? We'll let you know coming up.
For early appointments and late night care, for the moment you find out it's a girl, to the first time you hold her hand. With advanced maternity care, on-site level 3 NICU, and access to level 4 NICU, University
So I will
Health
just
is
ask.
the one for you.
So I just talked to
At
Yeah, just talking.
University Health, we're
Just
teaching
talking.
Kansas City what it means to care. Through the power of academic medicine, teaching can bring more minds to our patients. It solves some of the most complex medical cases in the city. And it provides hope to those who need it most. How can we care for all of Kansas City? Teaching can. University Health.
Welcome back. Last night, soccer fans from around the world poured into Kansas City Stadium, or Arrowhead as we know it, to watch this huge matchup between Argentina and Algeria. Our own Leslie Cardo is with Dr. Meg Gibson this morning. Dr. Gibson was lucky enough to score tickets to this exciting matchup. Good morning, Leslie.
Good morning. Dr. Gibson did go to the game last night, and she was at work early this morning. How many of you can say that? Dr. Gibson, you are a sports medicine physician. You are a team physician for UMKC, KC Athletics, and Sporting KC, but you went as a fan last night. How was the match?
The match was amazing. I have a lot of opportunities to go to soccer games, but usually I'm the one working at those games. And to be able to go as a fan and just really enjoy the atmosphere, enjoy the first World Cup game in Kansas City was absolutely amazing.
You taught me a new term as a non-soccer lover, a hat trick. There was a hat trick last night. Talk to me about that.
There was a hat trick, and not only was there a hat trick, but per my understanding, this was Messi's first hat trick in a World Cup and also tied him for the most goals ever during World Cup matches, which was super exciting. The atmosphere was amazing. There was just tons of fans cheering. Everything stayed really positive, and everyone had a great time.
That was going to be my question. Compared to the noise at Arrowhead, how did our international friends do?
Our international friends did great. I will say I did not understand all of the cheering that was occurring, but it was amazing to have fans from all over the world cheering in Arrowhead. And, we had decibel meters at the beginning, and they were both well over 100 for both teams.
Excellent. Yeah, Algeria had a small but mighty contingent. You said it, from above the stadium looked blue and white.
Yes. So it seemed like a home game for Argentina. When you looked around the stadium, the majority of the people were in blue and white. However, there was a very strong Algerian contingent, and they really supported their team. And there was a lot of other fans who were, like myself, really supporting soccer.
What do you wish you would have known before you headed out to the game last night?
So that is a great question. So leave early. And if you think you're leaving early to attend a game, leave even earlier. It took much longer than anticipated to get into the game. And I think that was for the case. We were lucky enough to get a parking pass through the Visa lottery where we got our tickets, but definitely leave early. Parking, ride shares, there were just long lines to get into the building. And then they did a great job, but there was also waits to get through security and then waits to get into the actual gate.
You said there was a way to kind of kill time, though, once you got in.
Yes. So I also was not aware, but they have a huge area, very similar to many of the things they're offering at FanFest, inside of the kind of security gate. So you have to have a ticket to be able to get into that area, but you could easily probably spend a few hours in that area before even heading into the stadium. So if you're lucky enough to be attending a game in the upcoming weeks, I would encourage you to get there early. That way you can enjoy some of the pre-game activities, so to speak.
They say that Kansas City is the new soccer capital of the world, right? But there are plenty of us who still are new to the game. If you've been bitten by the soccer bug and you live in Kansas City, we have great teams here year round. What do you recommend?
So Kansas City really is the soccer capital of the United States, in my opinion. I'm probably a little bit biased. I would definitely recommend starting checking out UMKC soccer games. Those are a great, affordable way to get your family into seeing some higher level men's and women's soccer. And if you want to do a little bit more than that, we can't forget the Kansas City Current, our women's professional soccer team, and then also Sporting KC, our men's team.
Thanks, Dr. Gibson. I appreciate it. Thanks for joining us. Dr. Gibson has to go see patients now, but we really appreciate your time. Thanks for joining us this morning.
For having me. It's great.
Reporting live at Lakewood Medical Center, Leslie Cardo and Dr. Meg Gibson. Back to you, Keith.
All right, Leslie and Dr. Gibson, thank you very much. 32 years ago, World Cup fever swept across the United States. Back then, two young soccer fans had no idea that their love of the game would one day lead them to University Health, where they would go on to make a big impact on the lives of many of our patients. Now, with World Cup excitement returning to Kansas City, these two providers are sharing their favorite memories of the 1994 World Cup with Leslie Cardo.
You gotta be hip to the pop.
Hi, I'm Vanna White.
It's 1994. World Cup fever is spreading across the United States. UH neonatologist Josh Petrikin is at this match in Dallas.
1994, I was 23 years old. I had graduated from undergrad. My friends got me up to date with soccer.
I grew up in Staunton, Illinois. It's a town of about 4,500 people. My parents got me enrolled in the soccer program.
The hometown of Director of Ambulatory Pharmacy, Christy Stice, might not have had a girls' soccer program without a local dad who played in college. He started the league and worked to ensure girls had a chance to play. This fueled Christy's love of the sport.
I just got really lucky, that my friend's dad had established a program. He was so knowledgeable about soccer, and I like to learn.
Petrikin's friends eventually became soccer coaches, but at the time, they just wanted to see the game.
They're the ones who told me the World Cup's coming to the United States. It hasn't been here. We have to go to a game. I think we got in for $100, and I remember thinking, man, that is a lot of money to go to a game.
We all went out and bought the Looney Tunes World Cup shirts and wore those proudly with our Umbro shorts because, T-shirts and Umbros were the uniform of the day.
It was Brazil and the Netherlands, two very big teams, and so it was packed, and the streets outside were packed. We went to a stand, and I bought a Netherlands jersey, and I remember I spent $40 on a jersey, and I was like, I don't have $40, but I wanted to be part of it.
And I still have my cleats, too.
And somebody came up to me and offered to buy my jersey from me. And so I sold it for $40. So essentially, I just rented the jersey for the game, and I kind of wish I had it now because it would be fun to have as a souvenir.
So someone offered him $40 for his jersey and he sold it? Stice's souvenir collection has grown. Each of her scarves holds a memory, a game with friends, a city she used to call home. If she and Petrikin do see one another at a World Cup match in KC, we hope she'll remind him to keep the jersey.
Thank you, Leslie. Coming up next, the sunblock, the extra water, and the floppy hats. What to pack for all the World Cup fun and excitement to help protect you from the sun and the heat. Stay with us.
For early appointments and late night care, for the moment you find out it's a girl to the first time you hold her hand. With advanced maternity care, on-site level 3 NICU, and access to level 4 NICU, University Health is the one for you. At University Health, we're teaching Kansas City what it means to care. Through the power of academic medicine, teaching can keep providers one step ahead of clinical advancements. It puts innovations into practice, and it helps write the next chapter in medicine. How can we care for all of Kansas City? Teaching can. University Health.
The soccer matches, fan fest, and watch parties. If you're planning to take part in the festivities, you may be wondering what to pack. We've got you covered. University Health experts share what you should grab as you head out the door to enjoy all that soccer mania.
Hi, my name's Kelly DeGarmo. I'm a registered nurse at University Health, and I work in trauma services. I'm here to talk to you about the upcoming FIFA World Cup. A few things. If you're taking a bag, make sure it's clear and no bigger than 12 inches high by 12 inches wide and 6 inches deep. Staying hydrated is key. Kansas City's summers can be very hot. Plastic refillable water bottles are allowed at FanFest. Glass and metal bottles are not. Sunscreen, sunglasses, and a hat are a must during the day. Hand sanitizer, as we know, is always very important. Make sure you take some Band-Aids for your bestie's blister, and that will make you a hero. If you plan on staying a while, make sure that you have chapstick, a fan, and a bandana to shade your neck or make a cold compress. It'll also help keep you comfortable in the heat. Let's talk phones. What happens if you lose yours? Write down the number of anyone that you're meeting or who's picking you up. Make sure that you keep your phone close because there could be pickpockets, we don't know. And keep your phone charged. One thing to leave at home is your cash. FanFest vendors only take credit or debit cards, but you have to remember why you're there. Remember to enjoy all of the soccer celebrations.
All right, let's bring in our doctors one more time for a few more final questions, Dr. Steele and Dr. Llewellyn. Let's talk about Team USA, okay? They played last Friday. Dr. Steele, you were at FanFest and you watched it there. And they play again on Friday against Australia. Dr. Steele, let's start with you. What impressed you with what you saw on Friday, and what are you expecting this Friday?
Well, I mean, what I saw was a team that was really highly motivated. They came right out immediately on the attack and ultimately scored 4 goals, which is the most goals that a U.S. team has ever scored in a World Cup game, and so that was a big deal. It was exciting the entire time. So I think for the upcoming game against Australia, they obviously won their first match as well, or not Australia, but with um, they're playing this week. They're playing Australia. Yeah,
Mhm.
Australia.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, playing Australia. So they won their first match, and so we can't look past them. I think they're going to have to be prepared, and hopefully they come out in a similar fashion.
Yeah. Dr. Llewellyn, do you making any predictions on this one?
Well, what I'm hearing is that Australia is a very defensive-minded team, and they don't have the attacking firepower that the U.S. team has. And so I think they're saying if they can kind of bog the U.S. down with a defensive match, it will make it much more competitive. But I think the U.S. should be favored in this match. But it's, as Dr. Steele alluded to, anything can happen in a one-game situation.
Right, right. So we have gotten some questions from folks watching. Heather sent in a question. The question is, how many doctors are there? Are there more than one doctor assigned to one particular player, and are different specialties assigned to an individual player?
The approach that we have at Sporting KC is we have a sort of a team of physicians with every subspecialty represented. And so the primary physicians, we have an orthopedic physician and a primary care physician that are at every match. But we have consultants that we use for any sort of subspecialty need that we have. We have a team podiatrist, a team ENT physician, a team dentist that are sort of on speed dial. If we need them quickly.
Yeah, even a team dentist. That's interesting.
Yes, yeah, they get some teeth knocked out once in a while.
Sure. Yeah. Another follow-up question. What advice would you give to someone who was interested in a career in sports medicine?
Well, I think first of all, study hard because it's you have to achieve a certain level to be accepted into a medical school for starters. But there's two basic avenues that you could go to for sports medicine. You could do a more of a non-surgical primary care type of avenue, like Dr. Gibson, who's a primary care sports doctor, or you can do an orthopedic residency where you do surgery. So if you have an interest in surgery, that would be the avenue. And so it's a commitment. It's for example, I medical school was 4 years, and then residency was 5 years, and then the sports medicine fellowship was an additional year. So it's a time commitment, but it's very rewarding.
Yeah. And Dr. Steele, I know you would have lots of advice for anyone who is considering a career in medicine in general. What's your key piece of advice?
Oh, I think same as Dr. Llewellyn, study hard. Obviously, it's a lot of hard work to get into medical school and to get through it and then do the additional training. And so, but it's very rewarding, as he has said.
Yeah. All right. Our next match here in Kansas City, Ecuador versus Curacao. Curacao is a small island country, population of just 155,000 people. Any predictions on this one, Dr. Steele?
Well, I mean, obviously they're the smallest country in terms of population to ever make it to the World Cup, and as we know, they've already played Germany, and that didn't go so well. But hopefully they will sort of get back into form and give Ecuador a run for their money. Obviously, it's being a very small country, and when they play Germany, I mean, it's more than 500 times the size in terms of population. So it'll be interesting. But
Yeah.
anything can happen, as we mentioned.
Right, right. Dr. Llewellyn, what are your thoughts on this one?
Well, uh, like Dr. Steele mentioned, on a single game thing, lightning can strike. You look at the Cape Verde. It was Cape Verde, Brazil, right? I think Cape Verde is a small archipelago. Oh, Spain. It was Cape Verde against Spain. Yeah. So they wound up playing to a draw, which it was
Mhm.
I guess considered the biggest upset of the World Cup thus far. These teams can strategize, and they're pumped up, on the world stage, and so anything can happen. But I think Ecuador would be favored on this one.
Some of these teams that kind of are coming into this and they really have nothing to lose. Are the players more at risk of taking chances and then injuring themselves, or is that not a factor?
That's absolutely a factor.
Mhm.
I think, a good analogy is the injury rate between, a practice session and a game. I think the injuries are maybe 3.5 times higher in a game situation than they are when teams are practicing, even though they're practicing, high intensity practice. And so you do tend to leave it all out there, take some risks and do some things that you may not otherwise do if you're,
Mhm.
like Dr. Steele mentioned, if you lose, you go home, so
Sure.
so it does take it to a whole nother level.
Yeah. All right, doctors. Well, I want to thank you both for giving us your time this morning. I know you've got both have a busy day ahead of you. So thank you both for your time. That's a wrap of our first episode of Healthy Goals, where our doctors talk all things soccer. Once again, Dr. Steele, Dr. Llewellyn, and Dr. Meg Gibson out at Lakewood, thank you for your time. As we mentioned, this Saturday, Ecuador takes on Curacao. Be sure to join us here Monday morning at 8 a.m. when we break down that matchup. And finally, please hit that like button, or as the kids say, smash that like button and subscribe to University Health's YouTube channel. From all of us here at University Health, we hope your day is full of big saves, great goals, and plenty of cheers. Have a great day, everyone.